हरिः कर्ता।
So why do data scientists say NumPy is faster? So vectorization describes the absence of any explicit looping, indexing, etc. in the code. So these things are taking place, of course. So as these things are taking place, of course, just behind the scenes in optimized pre-compiled C code. So vectorized code has many advantages, among which are: number one, vectorized code is more concise and easier to read. Number two, fewer lines of code generally means fewer bugs. I agree with it. Absolutely correct. And third, the code more closely resembles a standard mathematical notation. This is what is required for a data scientist or a statistician or a mathematician. He needs a programming language or a library which can resembles the code, which is very close to the standard mathematical notation that makes a lot of sense to the mathematician, to the statistician. And this is possible from the NumPy. So NumPy is ultimate. NumPy is extraordinary. Fourth, vectorization results in more Pythonic code. So without vectorization, our code would be littered with inefficient and difficult to read for loops. Just imagine the small example I have done. I'll show it to you one more time if you don't mind. You see that? This is what the condition. So I'm doing with the for loops. I have taken one list sequence, and second list sequence I used a for loop and iterate through the both the list sequences, and then wanted to do the multiplication for the corresponding values, corresponding items in the specific those list sequences. But what had happened, as the number of items in the list increases, we are going to pay the price for the inefficiencies of Python fundamental sequences such as list or dictionary or tuple. Okay, so that's the reason, that's where our NumPy helps us. So it results in more Pythonic code, and without vectorization, our code would be littered with inefficient and difficult to read for loops, continuous for loop, and huge amount of for loops. It's very difficult. It's very complicated. So, broadcasting is the term used to describe the implicit element by element behavior of operations. I hope you heard this word broadcasting in networking. If you haven't heard, if anybody interested to know about what is broadcasting in networking, you can just visit my course, intuitive networking for you course. In that I have clearly explained what types of networkings are available, broadcasting. So this you can see there, but broadcasting in NumPy is completely different. So broadcasting is a term used to describe the implicit element by element behavior of operations. Generally speaking, in NumPy, all operations, not just arithmetic operations, but logical, bitwise, functional, etc., behave in the implicit element by element fashion. That is the broadcast. So it's element by element fashion. That's why we call it as a broadcast. So moreover, in the example above that we have taken, that's sequence A and sequence B. Let me show that again. So sequence this example. So in this example, A and B could be multi-dimensional arrays of the same shape, but here we have taken a one-dimensional, a single dimensional array or a list. So same shape or a scalar and an array, or even two arrays of with different shapes, provided that the smaller array is expandable to the shape of the larger in such a way that the resulting broadcast is unambiguous. So if you want to know more about broadcasting, you can just explore the broadcasting. And just go to the manual, Python manual, and here is that the term broadcasting, and there are a lot of examples for the broadcasting also. You can just explore in that. Clear? Anyway, we will be looking into the broadcasting also in our course, so don't worry about that. So, and one more thing I just want to say is who all use NumPy. So NumPy fully supports an object-oriented programming or object-oriented approach. If you are not clear about what is object-oriented programming or OOPS, you can just you just get into my course called Intuitive Python. For you, in that I have made a detailed module on object-oriented programming with intuitive examples and very simple examples. You can visit and you can watch and you can get back to this video. So um, starting once again with nd array or n-dimensional array. For example, nd array is a class possessing numerous methods and attributes. Nd array is nothing but a class. It's a class possessing numerous methods and attributes. So many of its methods are mirrored by functions in the outermost NumPy namespace, allowing the programmer to code in whichever paradigm they prefer. This flexibility has allowed the NumPy array dialect and NumPy ND array class to become the de facto language of multi-dimensional data interchange used in the Python.